leaning a bit forward into the book, he does mention the narratives of masculinity, which I wanted to bring up. Chewy just finished the Mask of Masculinity, but I won't delve into that subject too much because we've already covered that in the last series. He does mention it's become an accepted part of our culture today to believe that we are all destined to do something truly extraordinary. Celebrities say it, business tycoons say it, politicians say it, even Oprah says it. So it must be true. Each and every one of us can be extraordinary. We all deserve greatness. The fact that this statement is inherently contradictory after all. And he mentions after all, and he mentions that on page 60. And he goes on to further to explain that it is contradictory because if we all were great, then inherently great would just be average.
See,
that's a good point.
That is a very good point. Sorry, no. So I thought about it quite.
I was going to actually ask a question, but if you want to.
Cool, because I think it might lead into a question. Yeah, so I mentioned very briefly it might lead into a question.
Mystic Meg.
No, I think it will, because you're talking about because we're talking about great. I think I've read and seen this somewhere before. Like, good is the enemy of great, in that good. I think good is very what is the word that they've used? Good is God. Anyway, so good is the enemy of great, in that good is a relative term. It's a relative term that you may say that is good, and I may say no, it's not good. Mm-hmm. So good is very relative, whereas great is something that I think we can all relate to. We know what great.
No, I think it's the same thing.
Are you sure? No, it's not, because you may say that the Ray and Nephew is good. I'm just giving you. It's a very, very simple example. Great. Everyone knows what great is, and great.
When I think in my head, I can.
Go on, let's break it down.
One second. In my head, because the only example I can think of is like footballers and Ronaldo and Messi. Yes, because everyone knows they're great.
Yes.
But I'm trying to think of something else. If I said this drink is great, you might turn around and say it's okay, and I can't think of anything else because I've got a drink in my hand.
Yeah, I know that. But what I'm saying is, yeah.
You could travel to a place and be like it's great, and I could be like I found it okay. It's only because we've got different thoughts, or I don't know. You might like historical places. I might like modern cities. I don't know. Does that make sense?
So I'm relating this towards achievements. Dare I say? All right. So let's see. I think the drink one. I don't want to say it's a good or a bad example.
No, it's a bad example.
Yeah. Oh, so okay, cool. So we agree on that. Okay, cool. No, I think great. I think we can all say, you know, that was a great achievement. Dare I say? Whereas good, our taste in regards to good may
vary, but I think great is the same.
I don't think so. I mean, it's just a fluid conversation, but that's my personal opinion. Great, there is a bar, and by the way, the word great is used far too often.
And that's the thing, because great gets used so often, it kind of does become
devalues.
Yeah, it devalues the term, and it all, as I think Mason, you're trying to get to the point of, it then becomes perspective, because your perspective of good and great may be a thin line between good and great. Like things, I don't know if this would be even a good example, but to put it into terms of schools, when they say it's good. What's the Ofsted rating?
Oh yeah, Ofsted report. Yeah.
It's good.
Outstanding.
Satisfactory. All that type of stuff. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a protocol to, okay, you need to have these certain things for this school to be outstanding. We all know, okay, this school's outstanding because this and that. Whereas, go on.
So no, I thought that's a fantastic example in terms of school. All right, so if we're using schools as an example.
So let the man finish.
No, you should go on.
Yeah,
you should go on. Yeah. So if we're using schools as this guy, by interrupting. This guy.
I haven't finished, but how'd you finish?
No,
end of.
Go on.
He said, you know what I was doing?
Go.
Alright, cool. I thought school was a fantastic example because I think we all know, alright, or not all know, but I mean, for those who work in the education system, we all know what an outstanding. We all know what an outstanding school is. Yeah. I mean, you walk into it, you know. I'm not saying you know straight away, but you definitely have and you all roughly know what a good school is. And I think there's loads of different varying things as to what a good school is, because they'll have probably positive and negative aspects as to why they're only a good school and not an outstanding school.
Yeah.
All right, but in relating to, I think it was your question. But the point I'm making is, sorry,
I haven't answered the question yet, but Cool.
Oh no, but the thing
But the statement.
Statement. Sorry,
Yeah.
as to the statement that you made, I feel you can have someone, for example, who come from, dare I say, I'm gonna say really, really simple example, a war-torn country that has come to, let's say, the United States, or come to the United Kingdom, and then from there has got themselves into a position where they're in I'm gonna say a good job. That is a great achievement. Depending on,
absolutely.
I think your statement was, if we all were great, there will be no good. I'm assuming
if everyone was to be great, then there would be
great.
There would be no great.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, depending on your starting point, and that was the point I was kind of leading to.
Okay, no, that's a good point. You make a good point, but that kind of does then lead on to my question in regards to: do you believe we all deserve greatness?
I think that's a simple yes. Why wouldn't you all deserve greatness?
But
why wouldn't you?
I don't think so.
You wouldn't deserve it.
I think we all deserve greatness, but will we all get it? Or
no, that's
that's kind of where I was leading.
Why do we? Sorry, I'm gonna miss something. Why do we, both of you? Why do we all deserve greatness?
But that's the point. That's what.
But you both said we do all deserve greatness. So I want to know why you both think that.
Because as a human, to experience greatness, we deserve it to ourselves to experience it.
You're changing it up now.
So I was gonna say you just deserve the best. That's it. That was
why.
I don't know.
I'm not talking about us three in a room. I'm talking about your everyday Billy down the road who hasn't worked a day in his life. Why does he deserve greatness?
No, but I'm not talking about.
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
Right. So this is a generalising question you've asked about. You said we all deserve greatness.
No.
Are you talking about us three in the room? Are you talking about just everyone in life?
That's what the paper. That's what the statements is, that we all deserve greatness. That you hear politicians say it.
Yeah.
You hear TV celebrities, Oprah, etc.
Yeah, I know.
And the fact that I think the reason why they say it is because everyone deserves greatness to themselves. In terms of, if you're not willing to work for greatness, then you don't deserve greatness. But as a human, you deserve love. You deserve attention. You deserve friendship. You deserve food, water, all those things that are essential to our life. I think we all deserve greatness, but whether we're willing to work for that greatness is down to us as an individual.
Right, okay, there's a bit more perspective there now.
Yeah, my thing was life's a beautiful thing. Life's very, very beautiful. I think you all deserve to experience it. You all deserve to experience it.
I think we all deserve it, but if we're not willing to put the work in, as May said, if you're just a bum sitting in your ass, then no, you don't deserve fuck all. Yeah, moving on slightly, unless you wanted to add to it, P or Mace.
No, I think I was kind of done on that now.
The rare people who do become truly exceptional at something do so not because they believe they're exceptional. On the contrary, they become amazing because they're obsessed with improvement. And that obsession with improvement stems from an unerring belief that they are, in fact, not great at all. It's an anti-entitlement, which is on page 61. That's something I definitely like.
Yeah.
Accepting the bland and mundane truths of life, such as your actions actually don't matter that much in the grand schemes of things, and the vast majority of your life will be boring and noteworthy, and that's okay. Do you agree?
I do agree. I highlight that exactly. Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah, I do. I think I love the whole approach to anti-entitlement, and obviously the obsessment with improvement as well. I think there's almost like a notion as to.
No, but there's the last excerpt that I read, which was accepting the bland and mundane truths of life. Bless you.
Okay.
Truths such as your actions don't actually matter that much in the grand scheme of things, and the vast majority of your life will be boring and not noteworthy, and that's okay. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's okay, man. It's definitely okay. And that's the thing as well. I think, French, me and you. So off air before we even. This is the thing, guys. So fully booked, blah blah blah. Yeah, we're a podcast, but we're boys as well. So we can have an hour or 2 hour discussion before we even start the podcast. Yeah, and we was discussing something about females and females in our own lives, and the fact that sometimes when you're with a female, you almost have this sense of feeling that you have to organise something most weekends to do something with them. Otherwise, you staying at home is boring, or watching the film, just staying at home and not doing anything is not really what she wants or whatever. And one of the points you've just made about actually just do you know what I mean? Just staying in and not being this overall boss or whatever it is. It's not necessarily an unachievement or disachievement. I don't know the term.
I'm going unachievement.
Yeah.
or not achievement.
So I don't know where I was going with that, but that just sprung to mind.
Cool. I personally, I agree and disagree without kind of sounding like I'm on the fence. But I think it's more I disagree with the first part of the statement and agree with the second part, which is your actions actually don't matter that much in the grand scheme of things. I don't believe that. I think your actions do matter in the grand scheme of things. If we think about the butterfly effect, everything is attached to everything. Like every time something occurs, it can make say for example a snowball get that much bigger. Yeah. So if I come out this morning and I just see a client and I say, "Wow, Mrs. Blah blah blah, you look fantastic today. Have you got your hair done?" That is just a simple compliment. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, going away. She's now taking that, and that's giving her some kind of extra step in her spring in her foot.
Yeah, right.
And therefore,
you've convinced me.
That transfers into something else.
Cool.
So I do believe that your actions do matter in the grand scheme of things.
When you started speaking, I was 50-50, and your last sample was convinced because it led to an example in my head. First, I was gonna say it depends on the scale of your actions. So you've got Rosa Parks who wouldn't get up, and that what she done reverberated all the way through to you know what I mean, where we can now get on the bus. And it's no big thing if we don't get out. Does that make sense? Yeah. And you've got even slavery, the man them rising up in little states and whatnot and saying, "Nah, F this," and dying for the cause for us. Yeah. So I was gonna say it depends on scale of things, but then when you mentioned about your last action, something else sprung to mind. Right. So I think I mentioned this before. You know when I've done my odd little trips to Eastern Europe, the Eastern Bloc as they call it, Poland and these kind of places, and people said, "You're mad, you're gonna get moved," and all that. And I've done little teaching excursions and stuff, and I've always said, and one of my things I've said, there's a number of experiences I take from that. One of the experiences I want to give as well to when I go and help people to learn English, when I've done it in the past in like remote parts of Poland, is some of these people have never. So if you don't know, the podcast is we're all Afro-Caribbeans. And one of the experiences, or one of the things I wanted to give was, I've met these people, some of these people, because they live in really remote parts of Eastern Europe, they only have images portrayed of what they see on TV, or what we, unfortunately, in society, where there's extreme poverty, you've got people coming over from third world countries into Europe and ending up in these random places like Poland or France or wherever, and they've got no hope, no one takes an interest in them, they're on the streets and so on, selling hats, baseball caps, scarves, jeans, whatever it is. And some of these people, because they're so tucked up in their own little world, they don't actually realise that not everyone's like that. So I've experienced things where I go abroad and I've said to people I'm from London, they said, "You were born in London?" I'm like, "Yeah," and they can't quite fathom that. But I've been lucky enough to be in an environment with certain people where they're forced and you're forced to get to know each other, or get to know you and you're forced to get to know them, and they speak to you. And then they realise, actually, do you know what, like, this person is educated and they've actually come to teach me something, and actually we're not that dissimilar. Like, yeah, there's different colours of our skin, but we're not actually that dissimilar. They have certain morals and values that we hold close to our heart. They have dinner with their family at a certain time. They're interested in making the world a better place. And by the end of it, they leave knowing that actually, like, yeah, we're all one, if that makes sense. And my point being that with actions reverberating, I might have a grandchild who goes to Poland at the age of 17. And they might have a grandchild who's out there, and my grandchild experiencing racism or being attacked, and their grandchild, because of their grandma or granddad telling about their experience with Lee, my real name Lee, that come over to teach us that actually this is a good person. No, that's wrong. Actually, this person's just like us, and that might stop them from getting attacked, bullied, robbed, whatever. And that's the experience that I want to give, and
it's the butterfly.
That's the butterfly effect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's.
I forgot I was gonna say I forgot the back end of the question you were saying.
Yeah, that was it. I was basically, do you agree? And my what I was saying is that I agree in the first part. I disagree in the first part. But in regards to the second part of the statement, which is the vast majority of your life will be boring and not noteworthy, and that's okay. Yeah, I agree. That is okay. Because a lot of life can be boring. There's so many Monday days and nights that we have. And if you're so endorsing Instagram or these other platforms that are around, you would think that these people are living 24-hour rock star lives, like every minute of their day is popping, and it's not like that at all. It's not like that at all. Don't get me wrong, there's people that do live these fantastic lives and they are doing a lot of things, but behind the lens, it doesn't mean every second that it is as good as what it looks on those images, whether it's with a filter or without a filter or whatever it may be.
Do you know what the maddest thing is as well? And I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but in the temporary period, I've lived 3 or 4 days where I haven't been in routine. Bruv, it's mad unbalancing. It's mad. I don't know if you experienced it, but it's mad. It's mad unbalancing. It just feels like I don't feel like I'm me. I don't feel like I'm in this world. It's just weird. It's like there might be 3 or 4 days. I don't know. I can't give an example right now, but where I haven't had a chance. I know this sounds weird, but catch up on the news. Not necessarily watch the news, but just catch up with what's going on in my everyday surroundings or in the world. And it's just mad. You're in your own little bubble, and it could just be. It's like a whirlwind that can take you, and you never come back. Do you know what I'm saying? So when I've experienced it just being your everyday Joe. So imagine people that are rock musicians or whatever, where they're always travelling. They could be travelling for months and on tour, and they don't know what's going on. They're just in their bubble. And for me, it's just a bit unbalanced. It's just unbalancing.
Yeah, of course.
It's mad unbalancing.
I think it's because we're creatures of habit. I mean, it's because I've travelled a couple of times. I know how that feels. That's the unbalancing, but. As you say, whirlwind. It can be whirlwind where you are living a rock star lifestyle. Not entirely, but I mean living a good lifestyle. But yeah, it can become imbalancing. Yeah.
Anything else on chapter 3 that you want to mention?
Chapter 3. Let me see.
Do you know what? And I don't know why he threw it in there. Yeah, but I really liked Mark Manson, the author Mark Manson's story about him in school, where he got caught with the drugs.
Yeah.
So I'll just go into it, and I don't actually. Hopefully, one of you guys can raise something valid that can add value to the podcast.
Is that in chapter 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
But yeah, I'm sure it was. But he so Mark Manson, when he was in school, he was in his class one day, and randomly, I think either the headmaster or the principal or the assistant or the vice principal or assistant headmaster or whatever you want to call them, deputy headmaster, come into his classroom and told him to gather his things and come with him. He escorted Mark Manson to his locker and got him to empty his locker and then said to him, "Come with me to my office." So he's gone with the principal, whatever, vice principal, to the office. And then the vice principal's literally gone through every last bit of his items to the point where he's actually tipped the bag undone and looked at Mark Manson bewilderingly like, "Where's the drugs?" or "No drugs today." And Mark Manson said, "Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about." And what was so mad about it is that when I was reading about it, I believe Mark Manson that he didn't have any drugs. Because when you read about it, Mark Manson comes across like he doesn't know what's going on. What's happened is Mark Manson, he's got like a little secret compartment in his bag, and at the last moment, the principal has actually stepped on the bag and felt something under his shoe, and then he's found a hidden compartment and he had some like marijuana in it or something. And I don't know what the point of Mark Manson's story was in this. It was something. I know he got caught, and I know it related back to his parents being very like you know this word, French, you've mentioned it before, where they're very laissez-faire almost, but there's a good word that you normally
lax, is it, right?
Not lax, they're very laissez-faire, very relaxed attitude to life, almost like the subtle art of not giving up. They do give a fuck, but almost like, "Oh, it'll be okay," blasé. Yeah. And I know that when he got home, he didn't really get into much trouble. I can't remember how it relates to the chapter.
No, he was talking about entitlement. So the behaviour from... Yeah. So what happened was he got in trouble, and then from there he went to... I'm going to say a boarding school. He got homeschooled, then boarding school.
He went to a churchy, Pentecostal or Christian, something like that. Yeah, school, which he didn't really fit into.
Yeah, and then ultimately something happened. His parents got divorced. It affected him. From there, he started seeing loads of different women. Yeah. They developed a level of entitlement. Boom, 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 so on and so forth. I mean, yeah, that's how the story kind of played out towards.
So what was it in terms of the entitlement thing? Entitled to what?
I think with his parents having a real lax or blasé attitude, I think he was always. I think there was a level of entitlement. I forget what he was entitled to as such. And then when his parents did divorce, he started seeing loads of different women, and then it became I don't say lazy, but didn't have a job, all that type of stuff. Yeah. And in seeing women, had a sense of entitlement.
Anything more on channel?
Just very quickly. I mean, what did I say? At the moment, or this generation, obviously, there's a lot of entitlement coming into play. I don't know. Do any of you remember having any entitlement? Just very quickly before I continue.
In what way?
As a kid, entitlement.
To?
Very similar to entitlement, as in.
I used to get pocket money every now and then, and I used to think I was entitled to that for not doing pretty much F all.
At what age?
Like £5 I'd get.
No, what age?
In high school? I don't know. High school. Well, before I was working, like from 16.
If you're
that's
born in a Western society, you're gonna feel entitled to some shit at some point in your life.
Yeah. Okay. But I think his. I mean, I'm not too sure how old he was at that age, but I guess I see your point. I see your point.
And obviously that's a very broad statement, but I do think in the grand scheme of things, if you're born in the UK, especially, you've had some kind of entitlement at one stage in your life.
That's not great. No, I definitely understand that. In terms of pocket money, I think you may believe you're entitled to pocket money, but I'm talking about maybe greater entitlement, that you're entitled to have those trainers or have those jeans. Maybe that's the reason why people go out. I'm not saying people go out and rob and steal and stuff like that. But they're talking about that stuff. That's something that's popped up recently, certainly on the radio today, as to putting things together. Sadiq Khan's come under a lot of attack because
this guy.
It was in the paper today, I think. So
Mr. Agreeable over
what's
there,
that
boy.
moped for? Boris is attacked.
Listen!
I know you've been mentioning. So Boris,
Jesus.
I've got him in the papers today apparently, and
Listen, Boris boy.
I haven't asked you why you said that, but I mean they've got. No, I haven't asked you. So I'm saying is like they've attacked him. I think that him and George Osborne, another mug.
George Osborne, why did you keep him?
Another
He must have buried himself in that crusty briefcase he used to run with, boy.
Another absolute mug. Alright, so
You know that man there, boy.
so I think they buried him, alright, so I think a lot of people come on the radio or either defending him or attacking him, and some of the things were brought up in regards to kids and doing more for the kids in terms of their health, their education, this and that, the third, so they wouldn't have to do things such as that. But some of the stuff that was brought up was in regards to entitlement, as in because kids want those things and they can't afford those things, there's a sense of entitlement that's brought in somewhere where they go and they.
Can you link that back to social media? Do you think?
I think you definitely can.
Well, in the Western society, I think we very much are an entitlement society, where we think we should have those things that we see without working for it. Like even down to again relating back to my godson's birthday party yesterday.
How was your godson?
He's now, I want to say 5. But basically, I was there yesterday. 5 or 6. That's bad. But basically, one of the kids have gone up to hit the piñata.
Yeah.
And it's got put in over his eyes, and he felt claustrophobic because the band. What was it? The bandage? Not
let's call it for that for lack of a better word.
Yeah. He couldn't see. He got claustrophobic because it was covering his eyes or whatever. And he's like, "Oh, what's wrong? What's wrong?" He was like, "Yeah." He didn't want to do it. And he was like, "Yeah, I only wanted the sweets." And we was like, "You wanted the sweets, but you didn't want to do the work for it." So you feel entitled to get the sweets, but you don't want to swing and work to get the sweets. You know what I mean? And that's obviously it's a very basic example, but it's very much how we are in this society, and especially when we've got things like social media. When you see people that look like us or come from the same background as us, and they see them with certain designer clothes and certain name brand this and a certain name brand that, it's like, okay, well, he's got it or she's got it, I should have that as well. I should have it, not because I'm going to go and work for it, or I'm going to put in this create this opportunity, or whatever it may be. I'm going to go volunteer, whatever it may be, to go and earn it. I should just have it because they've got it. I'm entitled to have it. They're from where I'm from. I should have that as well. Do you know what I mean? It's that entitlement that I think social media definitely does help create. I'm not going to say it's the nucleus of it all, but it definitely helps in add fire to the flame.
See, I mentioned in this book, and I was gonna drop you a message in regards to it, because we had a little debate about it when we were in White City as to the development of emotions. So now I believe.
Oh, that question again.
Yeah. No, it's in him. So it was in him. All right. So I'm not gonna. We've missed it. Probably it's gone over it. So anyway. All right. So I think some of that can be born out of that, in that you don't necessarily know how to, not necessarily manage your emotions. In that, obviously, you see something you like, and it's a case of, I like it, I want it. It's a very, very simple form of emotion, whereas there's not a case of understanding that actually, in order to want and have that thing, I need to do this, that, and the third in order to get it.
Yeah.
I mean, my sense of entitlement, I mean, what I specifically remember when I was, I'm going to say 14, 15, I don't know why this even crossed my mind. I remember thinking to myself, you know what, I'm gonna, so I was about to swear, I'm going to leave. I'm tired of my mum and my dad. They'll irritate me at that point in time. And I thought, so you know what, I'm leaving. I'm getting out of here. So I must have walked out of the house. And when I mean walked out of the house, I didn't go far. I'm talking about open the door and close the door. All right. No, I mean dead serious. I mean open the door and close the door. All right. And obviously there must be one or two things going on at the time. And I walked out and something's hit me as in, yo, if these lot don't care, no one actually gives a monkeys. No, and when I mean no one, I'm talking about like almost like a 33-year-old Andrew spoke to me and said, no one cares. And then I thought, yo, I better act up, you know, and I better go back inside and just humble myself. There's no, like, because you can't get your own way. I don't think that was the case, but just because you can't get your own way, it doesn't necessarily mean you should throw your toys at the pram. You know, you got to work hard like everyone else in order to have this and the third.
Yeah, no, definitely. Whilst we're moving on, chapter 4, the value of suffering. Can you guys, any of you remember the story of Onoda?
Yeah, that was bad.
That's
That was
a
a
big.
bad-
How you mean?
Bare bad.
How you mean?
Also, I'm glad we were.
One.
He wants to like kind of give a brief statement or a brief rundown of the story.
I'll say
See everyone.
To listen, yeah.
Everyone got excited.
no.
You know, man, like Onodo, you know. Man, like.
Okay,
Repping, even when it's listen. So when it's crunch time, even when there's no more crunch time, he's still ripping.
That's
Anyway,
gang.
so just cutting, obviously, if I miss anything out. So obviously there's Onodo and I'm gonna say Suzuki. That's not when his name.
Yeah, but he comes in later.
He comes in later, but obviously the story's gonna cross paths.
Man, like
So
Suzuki and
Onodo was I'm gonna say he was a war veteran as such. Obviously when Second World War started, obviously he fought in the war. The war finished as such.
Yeah.
Nah, man, you're cutting out too much.
Alright, cool. Jump in. It's a great story. So
I'm gonna jump in,
It is a
but I'm
bad
gonna
boy
jump
story
in, but I'll let you carry on. But let me just jump in. So you're right. It's mid 1940s, 44 maybe, 44, 45, around there. It might be in 46. I can't remember.
It's 45.
It's 44.
Right, it's 44.
Okay.
Right. What's happened now is, remind me, which troops are in the Philippines? Is it the Americans?
It's the war against Japan.
Yeah, and
against America.
Is
Yeah,
it
and
Americans? Americans are into
they're in
the
the
Philippines
Philippines,
now,
yeah.
yeah? Japan have realised that they're losing the war in it, yeah? And they've retreated slightly, but back into the forests and stuff, and the kind of woodlands and whatnot. But they're lacking, they're limited in numbers now. What's the name of Anuka? Onodu's part of these guys, so they know they've got limited
like
resources.
Onoda.
America are trying to go from the Philippines all the way up to Japan. What they've done, they've started to F with like the forest, like burn. They've said, you know what, we know we can't battle them one-on-one. Let's try and cut supplies. So they've started to burn the woods. They've started to like.
Remember, this is
mess with the
Onoda and
farmers.
3 man, you know.
Yeah.
It's just freeing him and his
It's not.
3
It's
dogs.
not one.
No, it's him and his
Alright.
3 dogs.
Yeah, so they're burning supplies in the forest land. They're killing cattle. They're trying to say, do you know what? We can't
Only
battle them
cattle,
1-on-1. Let's try and fight with them. Anyway, the Americans are still proceeding. Obviously, there's thousands of Americans. There's only a couple of men from Japan, so they're still cutting through basically, and they're killing off one at a time. Pocker, I'll let you go back now.
Now you can see. I think you still the story.
No, go on.
All right, cool. Okay, so obviously they're killing off cattle. They're burning down. I'm gonna say the forest, dare I say, or wherever they are.
They're trying to cut supplies to limit. They're trying to do anything they can without direct combat, basically, because they know that 1-on-1 they'll lose. There's not enough of them.
Yeah, of course.
So they're hiding and coming out and doing things.
Let
It's
me
like
just
hide and
add
seek.
one little specific thing as well.
Yeah.
That August, half a year later, the United States dropped atomic bombs on the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
And that pretty much done the war.
Yeah.
Japan surrendered, and the deadliest war in human history comes to its dramatic conclusion.
Yeah. But
However,
exactly.
Oh, however, thank you. Okay, so at that point, I'm gonna say the US or I'm gonna say the Japanese, the US or the Japanese, anyway, were somehow I want to say
the
delivering.
Japanese are still hiding.
And they're still hiding, but letters are being put in places in regards to the war's over. You can come out.
Yeah. So is his name Onoda?
Onoda.
Right, Onoda. Right,
Onoda.
because Onoda is in the forest land. America's done this in 2 of Japan's biggest cities, and Japan government or whatever have said, do you know what? The war's done. We've lost, basically. America conquered the war. But because my man's hidden in the woods, he doesn't know this. He's not in Japan at the time. Is he still in the Philippines in the woods?
They're still in the woods.
He don't know what's going on. So what's happened now is, remember now, American troops are going home. They're done. Like the war's over. They're going home. What's happened now is locals, Japan government, they started to drop leaflets around the woods. He's found a couple of leaflets and thought it's American. What's propaganda? Yeah, it's American. He thought it's American propaganda. He thought it's fake news, as we would call it now. He's just ripped them up and burned them to shreds, thinking now they wanted to come out to kill him. It's not really happening. Remember, he hasn't got no access to nothing, so he don't know what's going on. He's up in the woods. P.
Oh, Karen.
No,
you said you
started. P.
No,
I think you're there now. Go on. I had to give a bit more backdrop. Go on. No, go on. Go on, it's your story. I'm sipping. One. It's your story.
One of you talk, please. Come on.
Go on, P. I'm stopped.
Oh, so what?
P, stop.
So what I mean?
Be professional. Come on.
Nah, P, serious. Real talk. Go on.
No,
Please.
I forgot where I was now.
You just don't know the story.
No, I do.
Alright, 5 years went by. The leaflet said stopped. I might as well just read the damn thing.
Go on.
I'm going to read it, then you can jump in at some point.
If you want, P.
This guy, I'm going to laugh.
5 years went by, the leaflet had stopped, and most of the American forces had long gone home. The local population of Lubang attempted to return to their normal lives of farming and fishing.
Lubang's is the area in which he's hiding out, right?
Yeah, that's the island.
Yeah.
Yet there was Hiro Ononda and his merry men still shooting at the farmers, burning their crops, stealing their livestock, murdering the locals, and who were wandering too far into the jungle. The Philippine government then took to drawing up new flyers and spreading them across the jungle. Come out, they said, the war is over, you lost. But these two were ignored. Do you want to then go from here?
You were saying you put your
hand.
No.
Have you forgotten?
No, I've noticed it. We're going to put your hand.
No, I've said enough. We're meant to split this equally.
In 1952, the Japanese government made one final effort to draw the last remaining soldiers out of hiding throughout the Pacific. This time, the letters and pictures from the missing soldiers' families were airdropped, along with a personal note from the emperor himself. Once again, Onoda refused to believe that the information was real. Once again, he believed the airdrop to be a trick by the Americans. Once again, he and his men stood and continued to fight. Another few years went by, and the Philippine locals, sick of being terrorized, finally armed themselves and began firing back. By 1959, one of the Onoda's companions had surrendered and another had been killed. Then a decade later, Onoda's last companion, a man called Kozoku, was killed in a shootout with the local police while he was burning rice fields, still waging war against the local population, a full quarter century after the end of the World War II. Do you want to go from there, P?
Yeah, P, come on, you can have this.
You
had the bit with my man. What's it with the S? You're at that bit now.
Who, Suzuki, or whatever his name is?
Yeah, how does he come into the picture?
We're getting there.
Suzuki, how does he come into the picture? Oh my god, I forgot how he's come into the picture.
So basically, the news of Kozoku's death reached Japan and caused a stir. The Japanese people thought the last of the soldiers from the war had come home years earlier. So basically, Onoda becomes like a legend.
Folklore. Did he really exist? Is he still alive?
Yeah,
basically.
It's like that. And this is where Suzuki comes in.
Yeah, because my man's been killed, we just found out maybe Ononda's still alive.
And a random guy called Suzuki, he's quite a wanderer.
Yeah.
And he's a bit of a hippie. And he just like wants to go on adventures. Gets into the picture and he goes into the forest to look for Ononda.
He's not just looking for Ononda. He's looking for Ononda. He's looking for a Yeti, and he's looking for something else.
Yeah, there was in the order. He was the order was
Ononda, Panda, and a Yeti.
Yeah. So anyway, he's looking for all three. Anyway, and he found. I know he definitely found Ononda.
Within how many days?
I'm not too sure how many days.
4.
That's a bit of a quiz question. How many days? Come on, lads. Come on.
It was 4 days. So the government was looking for my man for years.
Yeah.
I think. And my man goes in there and finds him in 4 days. And he found him. He was calling his name, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was calling out his name, and my man
shouted his name.
Yeah, he was calling his name.
Madness,
P back to you.
Anyway, do you see the issues I have here?
Me.
All right, cool. All right, so anyway. That's the end of the story in terms of what took place.
Not necessarily.
It's not.
No.
So he found him.
Yeah.
Yes. And then from there, what happened to Ononda? Did Ononda, did Suzuki leave him? Because Suzuki went on.
No, Suzuki died.
Yeah, he died eventually.
He found the panda.
Yeah.
And he went to look for the Yeti, but it wasn't happening. The abominable snowman he was looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't happen. Ononda
Yes. Anyway, and then eventually Ananda obviously returned home, to which obviously he found obviously Japan had completely changed from.
Well, he turned around a bit of a hero, so to speak. But then
he became a celebrity, but because his ideals were of the old Japan
30 years ago,
and it was completely different to modern Japan, what he was saying was basically falling on deaf ears.
Yeah.
So the value of suffering for him was totally different to what he anticipated it to be. So he thought you would think he would come back and be revered and listened to, where really they looked at him as like a relic of an old time of Japan, and this is just a representation. It's not we're taking you seriously. It's just, oh, here's the guy that was
away for 30 years.
In a way for he's
come
been
on
in his own
TV
world.
and give us your interviews, but then when he gives his views on how Japan was and what it should be, what the hell is this guy on about? He's gone mad in that forest.
Yeah, exactly. But basically,
back to you, P.
Now you living proof. This man loves cutting me up. It's almost as if he loves what I say, and then let me have a bit of that. Let me have a bit of that. That's why if I've ever been quiet, that's the reason why, it's to avoid Mason cutting me up. Anyway, sorry, I can continue because I wrote quite a few notes on this anyway.
Oh, so on the story?
Yeah, did you?
Oh, can you give us some backdrop with your
I'm
notes?
not going to give any backdrop. I'm not going to feed your opportunity to cut in. Okay, so if suffering is inevitable, if our problems in life are unavoidable, then the question we should be asking is not how do we stop suffering.
Bro,
I'm not interested, but why?
My man moved to Brazil to die in the end because of all that.
Yeah, I know. Are you going to let me get to that, or are you just going to keep...
No, you just gone on like, bro. Like, you give a definition of suffering.
No. This is before the end of the...
You sound like you got Tourette's.
No, this is...
Have you got Tourette's, Paul?
No, this is before the end of the... No, this is before the end of the chapter. It's before the end of the chapter. It's before the end of the chapter, pal.
Alright, cool.
I'm not interrupting.
Go on then,
go on, finish.
Go on then, fella.
No, sorry, no, back now.
Go on then, finish. Go on, fella.
You tell us about Brazil.
Go on, fella. Andy.
Go on, tell us about Brazil.
Go on, fella. Go on, you said you were going to mention it. It wraps up.
No. You tell us about Brazil. You're very keen to cut me up.
Long story short, Japan isn't the home it once was for him, and he ends up moving to Brazil to die. Long story short.
Yeah. P, do you want to conclude?
Nah, Mason can do that because he's only going to cut me up, so he can do that. It's pointless. Every time I speak, he cuts me up. Oh, can I get a bit of that? Can I, please? Can I have what you got? That entitlement. Can I have what you got? Can I have what you got? That's why I sit here reserve, mate. Let me hope he gets everything out. Or why I let him speak first. So he's got all of it out, and then he's tired maybe, and then I can speak. Right, seeing that you concluded, maybe just let me start again. Okay, so if suffering is inevitable, if our problems in life are unavoidable,
I've got 1,000 notes. Can I get them out, please? God, sorry.
And then the question if that's not notes actually, it's parts of it anyway.
Go on.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, look at me, my pink highlighter.
This is a man who just skimmed over the book and read the book in one day. Anyway, then the question we should be asking is not how we stop the suffering, but why am I suffering? For what purpose? So let your struggle stand for something. Nelson Mandela, whether it's Martin Luther King, not going off looking for a Yeti, like Suzuki. And in Ananda's case, obviously, although it was sad, because he fought in a war and because of values which other countries didn't believe in, came home and his country's values are changed. To which you ask, I fought for the country I love for 40 years, 30 years more than I should have. I come back and my country doesn't love me or feel the same way.
That's why I'm not going to war, bro. All the men that go to war for England, them come back with no limbs and them things there, and they're just living in squalor and no one cares. And you know what I'm saying? Families moved on. It's long.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not going to war.
That's a whole different issue. But moving on slightly, the self-awareness onion.
Yeah.
Self-awareness is like an onion. There are multiple layers to it, and the more you peel them back, the more likely you're going to start crying at inappropriate times. Have you ever cried randomly? And that's to any one of you.
Not randomly, but I've had females do it to me. Has that happened to you guys?
Well,
yeah, I believe
randomly start crying. They don't know why they're crying.
Yeah,
like lying in bed or whatever, and they just start crying. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm crying. I just feel emotional.
I've actually done it once. Still, I've actually cried randomly. Like, I wouldn't say randomly. It wasn't random, but I had a lot of things going on, and I was just pissed off about certain things. And I just had a lot of emotion going on, and tears started forming in my eyes, and I was just becoming more upset, and yeah.
So, what age were you roughly?
This is last week.
Show the day, mate. Show the day. No, this is of recent. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it's been this year, but it's been of recent years.
Recent time. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, recent time, and but again, having that self-awareness, I was able to obviously bring myself back up and be positive and see, ask myself, why am I feeling like that? Or okay, cool, just not even to say, knock it on the head and leave on it, but just get on with it. Just like, cool, dust yourself off, whatever, cool, keep it moving. And I felt better for it.
It's funny you say that. So just very, very quickly, you see the question the other day which no one understood, or we laughed at, or we debated about. So it's come up anyway. So we have emotional blind spots. Often they have to do with emotions that we were taught were inappropriate, or it says when we were inappropriate when we're growing up. But it's more a case of emotional blind spots in that we haven't quite developed them as of yet. Anyway, that was just that point that we discussed the other day.
Did you get that?
Emotional blind spots.
No one understood it the other day anyway, but the author mentioned it anyway, so I thought I'd bring it up.
But how does that?
Mark Manson, I love you. I'm gonna mention everything you say.
How does that tie into what your question was?
I didn't have a question.
Oh, shit.
I didn't say a question.
Alright, cool. Moving on. The first layer, understanding one's emotions. Second layer is an ability to ask why we feel certain emotions, which is on page 70. Do you ever stop to ask why you feel the particular emotion?
Yeah.
You actually actively ask yourself, why am I feeling like this?
Yeah.
I
agree, P.
So no, yeah, I do. Yeah, I feel a certain way, and
yeah,
I feel there's a need to ask why.
Okay.
It goes back to what was we discussing before? The negative, the loop. What's it called?
Yeah, the negative feedback.
Yeah. And I know I gave an example.
Yeah, we have touched on it.
Yeah.
The third level is our personal values, and when I'm saying the third level, I'm talking about the multiple layers of self-awareness and it being like an onion. Just to reiterate, the third level is our personal values. Why do I, etc., or how am I, etc. Most people are horrible at answering these why questions accurately, and this prevents them from achieving a deeper knowledge of their own values, which is on page 72. For many people, this passes as self-awareness, and yet if they were able to go deeper and look at their underlying values, they would see that their original analysis was based on avoiding responsibility for their own problem, rather than accurately identifying the problem. They would see that their decisions were based on chasing highs, not generating true happiness, which is on page 73. Our values determine the metrics by which we measure ourselves and everyone else's. Ananda's value of loyalty to the Japanese Empire is what sustained him on Long Bang for almost 30 years. But this same value is also what made him miserable upon his return to Japan. What or who dictates your values?
I think it's gone. I thought you were going to speak. Oh, I thought you. Okay. I just think it's your experiences when you're growing up, really. I mean, that's my personal opinion. I think you form them as to what's important to you, and then from there they form your values.
Yeah, it's hard, man, because I would say I've got a different moral compass to, say, my mum, my dad.
Yeah.
Maybe values as well, but no, certain values have been instilled for me via family. I know that for a fact from growing up, and like moral compass and stuff. I think it's different from my mum and dad. I think it's similar to what you said. Environment, perhaps. It's a bit of everything. Environment, life experience, personal life experience, things that might have happened to you, what you might have experienced, both positive and negative. It's hard. It's definitely hard. But that's the only things that pinpoint, like, when I'm thinking about it right now.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, French?
I agree with you. I think it's you can't break it down to a what or a who. I think they're both combined. I think what dictates your values can be your situation in the time of your life, and what you value as important is different to what you value when you're a teenager. What you value your time to see in your family may be different to when you get older, when you value that time a lot more because you know there is a date, so to speak, where
expiry date.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to see these same people, so your value on time may be different, or the who dictates it. Your circle may dictate the value of a life, so to speak. Like if you're running in, I don't know, just go to the extreme and say you're banging in LA and you're Bloods and Crips. Your value of a life is completely different if you're in a whole different circle of people. If you're living in a community where everyone is fending for each other, so the value of a life is going to be much more, because if this person dies, the job that they may have been doing can't be done by someone else, so it now that the value of that person is that much more than what it would usually be per se in a gangbang in confrontation. So it depends on your scenario, where you are, who you're with. I think it's always evolving. I think your values are always evolving as the years go by.
Do you think you have core values or core values?
I think you have core values,
change?
but I don't think you can ever stick to something so stringently that it can't be changed, because you have to be to an extent ignorant to new knowledge, otherwise.
That's in the book as well.
Yeah, exactly. You can't stick to
Jimmy.
Yeah, that goes back to relates to Jimmy, where if you think this is the be all and end all, you almost stop taking in new information.
Don't be like Jimmy.
Remind me of Jimmy's story.
He was, I'm gonna say he just he had a rich family, and then I'm gonna say he was a salesman, but I could be wrong.
He was a bullshitter.
Yeah, he was a bullshit. But yeah,
Billy bullshit.
Yeah, so essentially
yeah. I remember now. I remember. Do you know when you were speaking French, I pointed at P, and the reason being, I was pointing at you because I remember we used to always say life is cheap round there, Northwest, Stonebridge, all round.
Yeah. I don't even go to. Oh, if I'm not with fuss anyway. I just remember when I was at uni, the people who I lived with. I mean, there was like a week period where they were saying, like, oh, someone got shot, like as in dead. This person got shot, dead. This person dead. And that one time I sat down and said, yo, your life is cheap round there. As in, people just get the stories I would hear. I thought were mad,
and it was the norm. So
yeah, it was the norm. Like, yeah, it was a problem.
Their kind of not values. That's the wrong word, but almost like morally, it's like, well, if he dies, he dies. What's that film? If he dies, he dies.
But that's how I think we are in society right now. Anyway, like in general, bruv, there's bare man are getting poked up or burst out or shot or whatever. We just don't hear about it.
Yeah, that's 100%.
There's so many crimes that we just don't hear about, and when we do about it, it's like, cool, keep it moving. We become blasé about it. Do you know what I mean? So our value for life is now becoming. I think it also becomes altered by the media as well, because we get shown so much of these things, or that we do become blasé to it. And it was funny that where I can't remember what area it was, but it was like basically it might have been Scotland, but there's a lot of stabbings and killings.
Was wild at one point,
but it still goes off over there, but you won't hear about it. And there was I think there was a client that was telling me actually about there's a particular area and there's murders there all the time.
In Scotland, just area?
No, just in England. There's a particular area, but it's a middle class area.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of like deaths over there, like a lot of suicides and a lot of fuckery that happens over there. But because they don't want the area to have a bad reputation and people start moving out, it doesn't get publicised and it doesn't get mentioned in the papers, and it doesn't. If you was to do the stats, the death rate would be quite high in comparison to, say, certain inner boroughs or hoods or whatever you want to call it. Do you know what I'm saying? And so it's that in itself, and I think this is a bit of a different subject, but it can be dictated by our society's media as it stands at the moment.
Sorry, I'll just very quickly, then I want to add something else to what you were saying, as to the topic. I've definitely heard about Scotland before. In fact, that's been raised very recently in like drawing comparisons with Scotland and obviously London itself, because London seems to be a place where everyone focuses their attention. Yeah. But I remember having a passenger before, and we were having a conversation. She goes, Liverpool, as in where she was from. Yeah. She goes, London. She feels safe. No doubt, she feels a lot safer in London in comparison to Liverpool. And she said she couldn't really put a finger on why no one ever mentions Liverpool.
Do you know what's mad? Not the neighbour got burgled that I explained before, 2 doors down, but my next door neighbour. So on Friday I was I jumped on a train, and my neighbour just happened to be on the same carriage as me, and she was coming back from Westfields in Stratford, so we was talking for ages, and this is my next door neighbour just there, and she was saying she goes, madness has happened on our road in the years. I was like, I know, like someone got killed once upon a time, their hand got chopped off and they got stabbed and everything, they got killed on our road. Burglary, there was some weird man try to break into my house, there's been gun police, there's been a lot of stuff on this road, yeah. And she was saying, do you know what's crazy, like even though this stuff's happened, I still feel so safe on this road, whereas when I go to like east or south or north, London by the way, it just feels weird. And I said, it's just familiarity, that's all it is.
Yeah.
But like, it's mad that you say that, because you actually hitting, like, the stuff you're saying about all this stuff's happened on the road, it has, and you know, we should be worried, but actually we're not. And I think it's just familiarity and the fact nothing's happened to us, and it just feels safe. And I explained to her, I said, do you know what's crazy? I said, I don't think, the fact I have to live here and come here every day, I don't think if I walked on my road and someone would come and try to rob me, I don't think I could take it. I think they'll have to kill me. I don't think I'll be like, do you know what, here's a tenner. That's all I've got on me, and a tenner for my life. I don't think I can have it, because I have to come to this road every day. I'd actually have to put up a fight or whatever, and something has to happen to me, because I have to come every day.
I think you made a good point in terms of, and we'll get back to the actual point.
So let me just, do you mind if I just touch on?
Yeah, I think what you're saying about familiarity. When someone's not from the area or from, say, London per se, and they hear all about the gunplay, the knife play and everything, and they say how dramatic it is and how rough it is and blah blah blah. For us living in it, it's normal. Like, this is normalised, this is day to day. Like, being from like where I grew up in Shepherd's Bush or whatever, like you'd hear people say, oh, that's a bad area, or blah 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 blah. This is pre-Westfield, by the way. But they would say, oh, this is a bad area, it's a bit rough down there. But growing up in it, I just saw it as I have so many happy days here, I don't even know what you're talking about. But like, and even going back to coming up, and I used to see man getting poked up, and we'd be laughing about it. Like, actually, I can actually remember walking, me and my brother was walking through one of the estates, I can't remember which one, but we was walking through one of the estates, and we saw in one of the side alleys, I don't know if it was, I think it was a kitty and a dealer. Someone was getting chefed up. Someone was getting chefed up, and me and my brother saw it, and we was in stitches, bro. Like, but it was so normal for man. It was just normal. Like, it was nothing to think about. Eyelid. We actually laughed at someone getting chefed up on the road, and we just kept it moving to the party he was going to. And that's just standard, though. To anyone else that's seeing it or hearing it, it's be like, what do you mean? You just saw someone getting stabbed up and you laughed, like, and you kept it moving. But it was so normal to us. Like, even thinking about it now, it's like, that was kind of bad still. I kind of fucked up, but it was never a second thought. So it becomes normal to you.
I remember pre-Westfields, before Westfields, it was Bush Market. That was the go-to place for exclusive trainers and that, if you weren't from Bush. And I'm not going to mention his name, but I don't know if you remember, you weren't there, but I don't know if you remember.
I've heard this story before.
Yeah. So one of our brethren, so we're from a little bit, not weird, but yeah. I didn't grow up in Bush. I grew up in West London, but further out from West London. Further out from Bush. And we used to go Bush Market, and you could buy exclusives there in the market and that. Not real stuff, obviously, but it happened to be in the Bush Market. But obviously that would attract certain man in there, obviously, because a hood man wants exclusive stuff or all the rest of it. And I remember I wasn't there, but my brethren went with my other brethren, and I remember like some youths from South come over, and my brethren, they just stuck on my brethren, like they just put something against his back and started going through his pockets. And I remember my other brethren that was there had to say, yo, what are you doing? What are you man doing? What's going on over here? Like, nah, fuck all that. And I can't remember if he got moved up in the end or whatever, but it was a risk. Like, I remember just going into another area, even though it's still west, we weren't familiarised, we didn't really have enough links or contacts in that area, so that if something went down, we can ring someone, or you're affiliated to someone, so that certain men would say, nah, that's my man's brethren or cousin or whatever. So it's just crazy. And I remember when I was young, certain areas, Peckham, what am I going there for? Brixton, what am I going there for? I don't have any affiliations, no need for me to be down there. I didn't go enough. Just saw at Peckham, I was in my 20s. Do you know that, Pete? I might have even went with you. And it was all like, it was taken in a new country. I'm not even lying. I might even went with you, one evening to go and meet someone down there, or sort of outside drinks thing or whatever, when I was like mid-20s. I hadn't been there before. What's in Peckham for me? All I used to hear was about Gigs and his boys. You know what I'm saying? Like rappers and that. I didn't know anything. I just knew that it was a mad thing. It was a jungle down there.
Sorry, French, I know you want to go. Let me just quickly sum it up. In a rare interview in 2003, Atiful Mustaine, I believe his name, isn't it? Mustaine, I believe his name is, admitted that he couldn't help but still considered himself a failure despite all he achieved in selling 25 million records. Mustaine was part of Metallica, but got kicked out, to which they wanted to sell 180 million records. One of the excerpts in the story, in the book, were apes. We all think we're sophisticated with our designer footwear, but we're just a bunch of finely ornate. We're all apes. I can't pronounce the word. Ornamented, I think it is. And because we're apes, we instinctively measure ourselves against others and vie for status. The question isn't whether we evaluate ourselves against others. Rather, the question is, by what standard do we measure ourselves? Although Dave was talented enough and had the character to bounce back and sell 25 million albums and become an influential musician, Dave's metrics and ambitions were such that if he didn't match or reach the heights of Metallica, there always would have been a hint of disappointment because of where his values were. The same goes for Pete Best. Although talented and disappointed, his values were more centered around family. And when he settled down to have a family, though it was thought it was the best thing that happened to him. I think we have different starting points and journeys, different standards, measuring points and metrics, and depending on those is where you seem to find value.
Was Pete Best the one that was in the Beatles originally?
Yeah,
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, in summary, I think we mentioned already, if you didn't have much of a family life when you're younger, it may be when you're obviously a little bit older and growing up, obviously those may be things that you may hold obviously a bit more dear to you. Likewise, if you're very, very talented and don't fulfill obviously your potential, if you're very, very talented, you may have a scent or piece of resentment if you don't fulfill your talent.
To kind of conclude with this chapter, I'll read out a few excerpts that I also enjoyed and thought was worthy of mentioning. If you want to change how you see your problems, you have to change what you value and or how you measure failure or success. That's on page 79. When we force ourselves to stay positive at all times, we deny the existence of our life's problems, and when we deny our problems, we rob ourselves of the chance to solve them and generate happiness. Problems add a sense of meaning and importance to our life. Thus, to duck our problems is to lead to a meaningless, even if a supposedly pleasant existence. Some of the greatest moments of one's life are not pleasant, not successful, not known, and not positive. That's on page 86.
It's true, man. It's one of them stories. It's not one of them, but it's stories to the grandkids. Or
exactly.
Stories to help you learn, bro.
Exactly.
Don't always have to be a positive experience, bro.
The point is to nail down some good values and metrics, and pleasure and success will naturally emerge as a result. These things are side effects of good values. By themselves, they are empty highs. And it goes into the last part of defining good and bad values. This, in a nutshell, is what self-improvement is really about. Prioritizing better values, choosing better things to give a fuck about. Because when you give better fucks, you get better problems, and when you get better problems, you get a better life. That's page 89. Is there anything else you wanted to add on that? Anyone?
No, not really, if I'm honest.
Cool.
No.
Yeah, let's wrap it up there then, and we'll get into the next part in part 2.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Just done it.